All right, everybody, buckle up because today we are diving into something that really makes you go, hmm. We're talking about political shakeups, career changes, and maybe a whole new way of thinking about how change happens in Jamaica.
Yeah, it's one of those stories that makes you realize politics is way more complicated than just like who's in charge.
Absolutely, and that's what makes it so fascinating. So, where do we even begin? Well, it all starts with Senator Matthew Samuda, a name many of you probably know.
Definitely a familiar face in Jamaican politics.
Exactly. But on September 2nd, boom, resignation. 8 years in the Senate, gone.
8 years is a long time. That's not just, oh, I'm over this. That's
Yeah.
he had a plan.
Okay, so let's talk about that plan, because resigning is only one part of the story. Samuda also announced that he's setting his sights on a new position.
That's right. He's aiming to become the representative for the constituency of Northeast St. Anne.
So he's not leaving politics altogether, he's switching gears. Now, I don't know about you, but this is where things get really interesting for me.
I know what you mean. It's like, why trade a position on the national stage for something more local?
Exactly, especially when you consider what Samuda was known for in the Senate. I mean, this is someone the Prime Minister himself called instrumental in shaping Jamaica's national security strategy, not to mention his work on climate resilience and environmental issues.
And he wasn't just talking the talk. Remember when he was pushing for the Caribbean Climate Smart Agriculture Center to be headquartered in Jamaica?
Oh, yeah, that was huge, trying to secure those international resources.
It really shows how dedicated he was to making a difference on these crucial issues.
Okay, so we've got a guy who's deeply involved in national level issues, making a name for himself, and then decides to shift focus to a single constituency. What's the thought process there?
Well, one possibility is that Samuda believes he can make a more direct impact by working at the grassroots level. Maybe he sees being closer to the people he represents, being able to work on hyper-local issues as a more effective way to enact real change.
It's an interesting take, right? Like maybe he felt there's a limit to how much can actually get done from the Senate.
It's certainly possible.
Yeah.
And maybe he felt that by working directly within a community, he could be more hands-on, tackling the immediate challenges faced by the people of Northeast St. Anne.
It's kind of like, do you want to create national policies or do you want to build something tangible in your own backyard?
And that's a question a lot of politicians grapple with, I think.
Right. And, we can't talk about this whole situation without bringing up the Prime Minister's reaction because it was very telling.
It was more than just your typical best wishes message.
Exactly. The Prime Minister specifically expressed confidence in Samuda's ability to excel in this new role, almost like an endorsement, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. And with an election on the horizon, that kind of support could sway voters in Northeast St. Anne.
It makes you wonder, does the Prime Minister see this as a potential model for the future, encouraging experienced politicians to use their skills at the local level?
That's a really interesting thought.
So what do we make of all of this? We have a seasoned politician stepping down from the national stage to potentially make a difference in a more focused way. And the question is, will this gamble pay off?
Only time will tell. But it'll be fascinating to watch how this plays out. Will Samuda's approach inspire other politicians to rethink their own roles and strategies?
And what kind of lasting impact might this have on how we view the path to political change? From the Senate to the streets, so to speak. It's something to think about.
Definitely a lot to unpack there.
As always, thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll be back next week with another intriguing story.